Good evening and welcome to Triad News 360 for September 27th, 2017. I'm Courtney Wallen.
And I'm Zach Tucker.
Hi, I'm Triad 360 News reporter Gus Curtis coming to you live from downtown High Point, North Carolina. Behind me we have an old beaten down neighborhood with the possibility of turning into something very beautiful. I'll have more on the story later, but for now let's head on to news back at the studio.
It's been hot for the beginning of the fall. Looks like those temperatures may stick around. Please watch for another hurricane warning for the East Coast. I'll tell you how close it is and how close it will come to us in the forecast later in the Triad News 360. Courtney and Zach, back to you.
The debate over a proposed baseball stadium in High Point is beginning to heat up.
On Monday, High Point City Council members voted to move forward with the project and gave city staff members a 3-point starting plan.
The City Council vote is to move forward with or without the Guilford County Commissioners.
Last week, the County Commissioners tabled their vote on the stadium for 60 to 90 days.
City Council told Fox 8 News they still want a financial partnership with the County Commissioners, but also warned that the county needs to move quickly in order to have the stadium open by the scheduled April 2019 opening day.
We have team coverage of the stadium issues. Triad News reporter Danielle Neuron was at the County Commissioners meeting last week.
Generally, no one showed up to a county commissioners meeting, but with millions of taxpayers' dollars, the commissioners got to meet a lot of their neighbors up close and personal. People crowded into the courthouse to have their voices heard for the proposal of the professional baseball stadium set to be built in High Point. Every seat was full, and many had to wait outside for the doors to be open. The president of High Point University, Dr. Nito Cubain, had already raised $50 million for the project that was announced in April of this year. The podium was crowded with opinions that were strongly in support of the plans, some reasoning that it will bring more jobs and business to the High Point area as well as help the community. Those against were not against but more undecided about the decision.
If I would be speaking for or against, at the time I said neither, but upon reflection I think a much better answer is both. Why? Because I think tonight's vote has become about so much more than a stadium.
Shaquille Allison, a resident of High Point, speaks strongly against the plans for the stadium.
School, and I feel as though if we take that money that we're trying to use for the stadium to sort of help the High Point community, I think that it would be best that it goes towards youth in the community to further their education.
After residents voiced opinions, the commissioners' vote ended up as 8-1. The commissioners tabled it for at least another 60 days. Triad News 360 will have more information when a final decision has been made.
Yes to High Point, and to say yes tonight to High Point. I thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
As of right now, the county commissioners have not yet said what their next action might be, but one can bet there are a lot of conversations going on behind closed doors. Zach, Courtney?
At the stadium, Triad News 360 is there now. If we could toss over to them.
No, that one.
Bring down a guest mic, please. Thank you.
Put the mic.
That doesn't get you jazzed up. I don't know what will. My name's Gus Curtis. Back to you.
What happened to that?
As of right now, the county commissioners have not yet said what their next actions might be, but one can bet there are a lot of conversations going on behind closed doors.
Thank you, Danielle. Lots of concerns are going on right now with this whole stadium issue.
It'll be interesting to see how big the crowds will be at the next meeting.
Well, there was a deadly shooting at the Burnett Chapel Church of Christ in Antioch, Tennessee that occurred on Sunday, September 24th.
25-year-old Emmanuel Sampson opened fire after 11 a.m. One person is reported dead and several others wounded.
Robert Engel, one of the ushers at the church, was actually pistol whipped, but that didn't stop him.
Engel got up, ran to his own car, grabbed his gun, and headed back into the church to confront Sampson.
Engel was able to subdue Sampson and held him until the police arrived.
The FBI is getting involved. They are creating a civil rights investigation into the shooting, which can bring additional charges.
When Hurricane Irma slammed into Florida, a rehabilitation center in Hollywood Hills, Florida lost power to its air conditioning.
11 of its residents died. That caused a national outcry and a state investigation.
That same day, about 160 other nursing homes across Florida had no electricity, and most of these had no generator capable of powering air conditioning. However, the only home where a power loss is known to have caused multiple deaths was actually the home in Hollywood.
As Irma came and passed, nursing home workers assured families that their loved ones would be safe, but fans and portable coolers were not enough for some residents. When firefighters were finally called to rush people out, they said the conditions reminded them of battling a fire.
Hurricane Irma has come and gone and left a trail of destruction on Florida.
The tourist city of Daytona took a real hard hit, like most of Florida.
Triad News 360 reporter Emily Edwards traveled to Daytona to see the damage firsthand. She joins us in studio now for an update on the recovery. Emily?
Hi everyone, thank you for having me. Buildings and homes have suffered heavily from the damage. Water flooding from the intercoastal has caused a lot of trouble, lots of repairs necessary. Docks and boats all up and down the coast have been crashed and been tossed about like matchsticks. As residents survey the damage, they almost didn't know where to start, how to get back to normal. I spoke to one of the residents who is trying to clean up so people can enjoy a special day they've been planning for years.
Primarily, we've had trees down, we've had a lot of flooding and damage to the grounds. We've spent the past week and a half moving debris, cutting up trees that have fallen on fences. We've had to move everything out to the road to be picked up by the emergency crews that'll be picking that stuff up. We have a wedding venue here on the property, and we have a lot of weddings coming up this fall, so our priority right now is to make sure that wedding venue gets back to being exactly the way it should be for a bride.
The next big headache will be their insurance policies. What does their coverage actually pay for? Not much. Docks are actually not insured, so as you saw by the footage, the costs are adding up in Florida and Texas. And everyone across the country is likely to feel the pinch as insurance companies may raise your insurance rates to cover some of the damage costs. Tough times ahead. Courtney and Zach?
Thank you so much, Emily. The pictures from Texas and Florida makes you feel for those folks who are going and what they're going through.
Latest reports out of Washington suggest the recovery cost could exceed $100 billion. But not all the news out of the nation's capital is bad. Can you imagine a bunch of office types getting out to play some hoops?
Really not a LeBron James picture here.
Even more concerning is where they work.
This year marks the 19th annual congressional basketball game in Washington, D.C.
Joining us in studio is Triad News 360 reporter Ashton Keith, who traveled to Georgetown University where the congressman hit the court. Ashton?
Hi, how you doing? I just got back from DC and it was a great time. It was the 19th annual Congressional Fall Classic. And what it is, it's a charity event for inner city kids who suffer from poverty and hunger, and that's something that no kid should ever have to face. And a bunch of congressmen, lobbyists, and staffers come out and play each other. It actually gets really intense, and it was a really good time. And they help raise money. Next year marks their 20th anniversary, so big things ahead for them. Courtney, Zach? Basketball for the good cause. The first game was smaller, shorter, lobbyists and staffers. The second game was for the congressmen and the lobbyists. The money from the event goes to support Hoops for Youth Foundation, a group that helps struggling young people. This is the 19th year of the event that has raised millions of dollars for the cause.
Thank you for joining us today, Ashton.
The charity basketball game helps to benefit the Hoops for Youth Foundation, a foundation supported by congressmen in Washington.
More sports news from the nation's capital. President Donald Trump took to Twitter to say that players who kneel during the national anthem should be fired.
NFL players across the nation and in London are staging protests during the national anthem this week.
The response to President Trump's remarks took all sorts of forms. In Charlotte, the Carolina Panthers stood as usual. In Pittsburgh, Steelers stayed in their locker rooms, all except offensive tackle Alejandro Villanueva.
Now, Villanueva was actually a U.S. Army captain and an Army Ranger. He served 3 tours in Afghanistan and received the Bronze Star for valor.
His Steeler teammates say they stand behind their friend and fellow player.
Coming up on Triad News 360, the FBI arrests some college coaches at some of the bigger name schools.
And for big-time college sports, it's big-time money. We'll be right back.
Well, Thomas, you've got pre-diabetes. But with more exercise and a change in diet, it can be reversed.
I've tried exercising. It just makes me hungry for bacon.
I love bacon, too. And who really likes to exercise?
Not me.
Me neither.
Nobody. So we're good?
What? Oh, you still have pre-diabetes. Big time.
I want to eat apples and bananas. I need to eat apples and bananas. Why can't I eat apples and bananas?
Support the Feeding America nationwide network of food banks to help provide meals to those in need. Join us at feedingamerica.org.
Welcome back to Triad News 360. I'm Courtney Wallen.
And I'm Zach Tucker. It's always fun to watch your favorite college football team play on Saturdays.
But make no mistake, college sports is a big-time business with a great deal of money at stake for those schools who play to win.
The University of Nebraska from the Big Ten Conference recently lost a football game to Southern Illinois University, a game that many expected them to win easily.
Nebraska has not been in the national championship race for a number of years now, and the university wants to change that direction.
They fired their athletic director right after that loss and are trying to get their sports programs back into a national contender.
There is a lot on money on the table here in television rights, bowl games, appearances, and reputation in Lincoln, Nebraska. The university is the big industry.
Joining us in studio is Triad News 360 sports reporter Ford Martin, with a special guest live from Nebraska to give us a picture of how the sports affects the Cornhusker State. Ford?
Thanks, guys. Well, in college football, anything can happen, especially upsets, but a game against Northern Illinois, well, that's a game that, well, you're expected to win. That's, as you said, Zach, a game that they should have won. So joining us now is Matt Reynolds. And Matt, Sean Eichhorst, the former athletic director, was fired. Now they're bringing in Dave Remington, the former All-American for Nebraska and in the 1980s. And he said this is something he's coming in to calm things down. It's something for 60 days. So what's your opinion on this new hiring?
At the press conference yesterday, he did talk a lot about coming in here to calm things down. He said, I'm not here to fire anybody. I'm here for the coaches. I'm here for them, wanting to provide a little stability. And I think it's a great move for Nebraska right now, you know. The coaching staff is on a little bit of thin ice after that loss to Northern Illinois. The fans were not happy about that, and I really think Sean Eichhorst, the AD, was the first domino to fall in this situation, and really the domino that was separate from all the other ones. When you look at some of the grievances that people had against Sean Eichhorst, it was ditching Nebraska's tradition of the Black Friday game. When the 2020-2021 schedules came out a couple weeks ago, a lot of people were asking, hey, is Sean Eichhorst going to preserve one of our favorite traditions? Well, he didn't come out on that until he took a backtrack 2 days later and said, well, we're going to look at that again and maybe see if Black Friday is still on the table. Another thing, the Big Ten proposed Friday night games, which would be very tough for the Lincoln, Nebraska economy and the Nebraska economy in general. because of the gravity of what high school sports plays in this state. And so Friday night football games in Lincoln was not a popular situation with fans, and I think there was a lot of pushback on that. And so Sean Eichhorst had made a lot of, I don't want to say enemies, but had rubbed a lot of people the wrong way, and that's kind of what led to this move.
And you talk about right now is talking about football, Mike Riley, the head football coach, and he is a little on thin ice right now. On ESPN, he's number 2 as far as the coaches on the hot seat. Kevin Sumlin of Texas A&M being number 1. Does this help Mike Riley's cases keeping the job the rest of the year and maybe the future?
Well, it certainly doesn't help his case that the athletic director's gone, but I think it's a little bit overblown in the national media how much of a hot seat he is on. You look at the situation he inherited 2 years ago in the former coach Bo Pelini. Yes, he did win 9 games a year, but that was against an 8-game conference schedule, and Pelini didn't like to recruit very well. Riley came in with a little bit of a bear covered, had some pieces there, but did go 6-7 his first year, went 9-4 obviously last year, so they had a better year. He's been able to develop that talent, but there were some pieces in that locker room that were kind of tough to deal with, and Mike Riley stepped into a situation where they weren't his guys, it wasn't his system, but this year obviously showing the willingness to make staff changes, firing longtime friends and coordinators. Bruce Reed, the special teams coordinator, and Mark Banker, the defensive coordinator, showed Mike Riley's willingness to change things up and move things forward to win right now instead of just down the road.
All right, Matt, and from all of us from HPTV, thank you for joining us, and we appreciate it. And Zach, Courtney, back to y'all.
Thank you, Ford. Sports is a very big money industry and can tempt some down the wrong path.
College basketball coaches and high-level apparel company employees have been arrested in an FBI investigation. Chuck Person from Auburn, Lamont Evans from Oklahoma State University, Tony Bland from USC, Emmanuel Richardson from the University of Arizona, along with Adidas Director of Global Sports Marketing, Jim Galter, were among those arrested.
The FBI investigation discovered through wiretapes and other means that money was funneled from Adidas to high school recruits to attend certain colleges, and coaches received money in exchange for the coaches to direct pressure on the players and their families to retain the services of the advisors.
The investigation is still ongoing.
Well, colors, dancing, and pride fill the streets of Greensboro.
The free admission street fair style event promoted unity within the LGBTQ+ community to remind everyone that love has no labels. The 2 days featured several musical acts as well as poets, dancers, even including local youth choirs and dance companies.
Some people took advantage of the celebration and dressed in rainbow tutus, glitter makeup, etc., while other people looked like they were simply taking their families out on a walk and stumbled onto the street fair.
Rainbow was definitely the theme of the weekend, as rainbow flags, t-shirts, wigs, tattoos, and decorations could be seen all throughout downtown Greensboro.
3 very successful women want others to know what failure oftentimes can be the road to success.
Crowds poured in to hear what success can look like.
Elizabeth Rusnika-Resminde, Karen Reinhardt, and Leslie Dart shared stories of how their failures led them to be very successful women.
The ladies shared their experiences with the idea to inspire others to dream big and to never give up on their futures.
I was very inspired by the presentation, by all the panelists talking about their struggles in their careers and them responding in such a positive way.
And she really emphasized that she thought it was a bit extreme how much pressure we're put into at such a young age to know what we want to do, and it was just so inspiring to see how successful she became.
It's fun to try to get people excited about it, get more women engaged in those career areas, and to grow it.
Each woman shared a story of a pivotal moment that led to her prosperity. These leaders also shared encouraging messages, such as each day being a learning experience.
This panel also related to college-aged women who feel pressured to know what they want to do with their lives.
Audience members of all ages left the event feeling inspired and empowered by these leaders.
One picture can tell 1,000 words.
And one picture of a person can tell a lifetime of stories.
I recently had a chance to talk with Jose Galvez, a Mexican-American photojournalist who has spent his lifetime telling these stories to showcase a side of a very seldom seen.
Life through the eye of a camera can show the simply beautiful things of the human condition. A local photographer is celebrating his roots in a special way. I got the chance to speak on the phone with Pulitzer Prize-winning photojournalist Jose Galvez, who captures Latino life throughout North Carolina. The High Point Museum is displaying the exhibit for National Hispanic Heritage Month.
Actually, my wife and I were struck by the number of Latinos that actually were living here in North Carolina and what they were doing. That was always part of my wanting to move to this region, was to document the impact of Latinos in not just North Carolina, but the whole southern region. I was ready for a new challenge. You know, I've been documenting Latino life for all my professional career, which is more than 40 years now.
Would you say that Latinos in the Southeast is different from what you've seen out in California, Arizona, New Mexico, that area?
It has brought a certain amount of vitality and financial reward for communities. I'm seeing much more of an impact, especially like in the small towns and maybe some of the main boulevards. Latinos are no different than other people. They work, they have homes, they go to the neighborhood parks, they have religion, teenagers like to have a fun time, they go to school, they go to college, they're gay, they're transsexual, they're professionals, they're business owners, all that stuff, they're just really not much different than anyone else.
The photo exhibit, Al Norte, was brought from the North Carolina Museum of History to the High Point Museum, now until November 4th. The museum is open Tuesday through Saturday, 10 a.m. to 4:30 p.m.
It was great to talk with him. He's a very inspiring person.
That's a great story, Courtney. Next on Triad News 360, Natalie Garcia joins us with the weather around the Triad.
And High Point University Chorus plans a journey ahead. Welcome back to Triad News 360. I'm Courtney Wallen.
And I'm Zach Tucker.
Fall is here, but summer still refuses to leave. We've been having great weather around here for the past week.
Triad News reporter Natalie Garcia is here with our weather update. Natalie, is the weather getting any colder?
It's been a very warm beginning to fall so far. We've been having some amazing weather here in High Point, North Carolina, and we can look forward to continuing seeing it on. As you can see here on the west coast, we have a cold front that's going to be coming in and moving in around to the east coast around sometime maybe next week, dropping to temperatures as low as 75. But as you can see, as we continue on with the map, all around the east coast, we've been having some beautiful weather, 75 degrees. If I was you, I would definitely get outside and have some fun for sure. And as you can see, as we go into the look of the state of North Carolina, we can see that all around has been affected by this beautiful weather, and it's going to be some really nice stuff. As you can see that there's nothing really coming our way. We can really look forward to continuing to have this beautiful weather. And as you can see, for the rest of this week, when it comes to Thursday and Friday, we'll be having some 80-degree weather, and it's going to continue to be beautiful. And if you're a High Point University student, you know that this Friday is the upcoming fall concert. And in the past few years, we've been having some rain and it hasn't been fun. But guess what? This year, it's about to change. We're gonna have beautiful weather, 85 degrees and sunny all around. That's all for this week's weather update. Back to you, Courtney and Zach.
Thanks, Natalie. Sounds like we still have to wait a little bit before fall is here and whenever we can get our jackets out.
I can't wait to fill my closet up with sweaters and hoodies.
Imagine practicing for over a year for just a couple of events.
That's what one local group is doing as they prepare for a long trip.
Joining us in studio is Triad News 360 reporter Emmett Cusrow with the story of their journey. Emmett?
The trip isn't until later next summer, but they are already working hard. High Point University's choir will be traveling to Italy during the summer of 2018. They will represent the state of North Carolina in an American celebration of music. The group is scheduled to sing Mass at St. Peter's Basilica in the Vatican, along with concerts to be performed in the Sistine Chapel, Venice, and Milan. And they got the invitation through the group Music Celebrations International, who organizes all of HPU Choir's international trips, including last semester's study abroad in Prague.
Wow, that seems like a great opportunity for them.
Definitely sounds like a great adventure. Thanks, Emmett.
Next, flying high in a special ride.
In High Point University sports.
Don't go away, we'll be right back.
I want to eat apples and bananas. I need to eat apples and bananas. Why can't I eat apples and bananas?
Support the Feeding America nationwide network of food banks to help provide meals to those in need. Join us at feedingamerica.org.
Welcome back to Triad News 360. I'm Courtney Wallen.
And I'm Zach Tucker.
Fast food chain Taco Bell has announced that they will open 300 to 350 cantina-style locations.
The new restaurants will offer alcohol and new food items such as the Naked Egg Taco and the Crunchwrap Supreme.
But the new locations will not have the standard fast food drive-thru. Taco Bell plans to open their new stores in big cities throughout 2022.
Burning rubber, loud bikes, and great fun.
The Ray Price Capital City Bike Fest roared into Raleigh, North Carolina. A major stop on the Bike Fest tour almost drowned out every other sound in the town.
The night was held for the most anticipated event of the show.
The stunt show. Flips in midair, jumps off ramps, and every kind of daredevil stunt one cannot imagine that can be done on a motorcycle.
You might leave with a bit of a headache, but the Bike Fest is an event you'll remember for a very long time.
Classic cars, no matter where they park or drive, always turn heads.
A 65 Chevy 2, late 60s Chevy Polara, a 62 Ford F-150 pickup truck, and a classic 442 Old Cutlass.
Just some of the beloved cars at the recent Fenders and Vendors car show.
And also many vendors with their crafts, jewelry makers, potters, and stained glass designers.
Homemade jams and sauces and self-made chairs. Can't miss at all these great fall car shows. Fall sports is underway at High Point University.
And Triad News reporter Dan is here with us today. And so how are our teams doing?
Thanks for having me, guys. The High Point men's soccer team started off conference play in big fashion, beating UNC Asheville 3-0 at Greenwood Field. Redshirt sophomore Bana Ganadecum led the way for the Panthers on the attack with 2 goals, while Keegan Meyer recorded his second shutout of the year with 4 saves. This result marks the 3rd consecutive year in which HPU has shut out UNCA 3-0 to open conference play. Next, the Panthers head to Boone to play App State on Saturday at 7 p.m. The HPU women's soccer team finished with a 1-0 win at Longwood this past Saturday. Senior Alex Hank had her 23rd career shutout with 5 saves, and senior Michelle Michike had her 2nd goal of the season with her game-winning penalty kick. The Panthers are on the road again this Wednesday for their next conference match against Liberty, where they look to extend their win streak to 3 games. Kickoff is scheduled for 5 p.m. This week, High Point men's and women's soccer goalies swept Big South Conference Player of the Week honors. Redshirt sophomore Keegan Meyer was named the Big South Defensive Player of the Week after his performance against number 4 Wake Forest and UNC Asheville. He tallied 11 saves as the Panthers split the 2 games. On the women's side, senior Alex Hank was also named Defensive Player of the Week after the Panthers' 1-0 win against Longwood on Saturday. Hank now has 23 total shutouts in her career, which is the highest in High Point's Division I history. The High Point women's volleyball team defeated Campbell on the road yesterday by a match score of 3-0. Panthers have gone 3-0 in Big South matches for the first time since 2008. The team returns to the Millis Center this Saturday at 2 p.m. for a match against Radford. The High Point women's golf team currently sits in 9th place. After the first 2 rounds of the Pirate Collegiate Classic, The Panthers have recorded 25 birdies thus far and are being led by senior Kayla Smith, who is in a tie for 21st place at 6 over par. The High Point women's cross-country team finished 5th at the Virginia Panorama Farms Invite in Earlysville, Virginia this past weekend. Freshman Famke Heist led the Panthers across the line for the 3rd consecutive meet, placing 6th overall. Other top finishers for the Panthers included Julia Hellman and Francie Jacobs. Next up, HPU will host the Vert Cross Invitational in Kernersville on October 13th at the Ivy Redmond Sports Complex. The High Point men's cross-country team returns to action this Saturday at the Upstate Invite in Spartanburg, South Carolina. After finishing 4th out of 5 in the Big South preview on September 16th, this will be HPU's 2nd event of the season. The last time HPU competed in the Upstate Invite was in 2015, and the Panthers finished 1st.
Thanks, Dan. When we come back, we'll have a little bit about some superheroes in Greensboro.
All right, we'll be right back.
Got pre-diabetes, but with more exercise and a change in diet, it can be reversed.
I've tried exercising. It just makes me hungry for bacon.
I love bacon, too. And who really likes to exercise?
Not me.
Me neither.
Nobody. So we're good?
What? Oh, you still have pre-diabetes.
Welcome back to Triad News 360. I'm Courtney Wallen.
And I'm Zach Tucker. People of all shapes and sizes and costumes showed up in Greensboro.
Greensboro Comic-Con took over the Greensboro Convention Center.
There were casual visitors and dedicated fans in full costume. Notable artists and writers held panels and had fans line up to get autographs. There were tables and booths from TV shows like Doctor Who, Archer, Game of Thrones, and Adventure Time, to book groups also like Harry Potter and Lord of the Rings.
The old favorites like Pokemon, Sailor Moon, and Godzilla. No matter what nerd culture you're into, there was a group for all of them.
A unique world, but some people are really into it.
Looks like an interesting group.
Hey Courtney, do you follow up with the Kardashians at all?
Not really.
Well, there's a rumor going around saying that the youngest Kardashian, Kylie Jenner, is pregnant. So what do you think about it?
I don't really think too much of them, but we have to say goodnight for now.
All right, well that's all for tonight.
Good night, High Point.